Hey, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome 2025. It is Katie and
Brian. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, guys. Matt is unable to be with us today, but that is okay. Do not fear. He will be back. I know he's a fan favorite, so he will be back next month. He's just unable to be with us today, but that's okay, Ryan, because we're going to set the stage for Q1 2025. Let's jump right into rates. What's been going on in your world?
Yeah, the big news last month, the Federal Reserve meeting was on December 18th. And as expected, they did cut the funds rate by a quarter. And again, this directly impacts rates on consumer loans, credit card interest rates, business financing. And this really it was the third cut in a row since September. So altogether, it was a 1% drop the last few months of the year here. So now, just a reminder, the reason the Fed started dropping the funds rate for the first time really since 2020 is that they felt inflation was getting under control and trending towards their target range, really kind of for a healthy economy. And lowering the funds rate, it increases spending and kind of keeps the economy strong, prevents any kind of slowdown that they or a recession, really. So, but the Fed, they got a little bit of a curveball the last quarter of the year, the fourth quarter here, because inflation started trending a little bit higher. So some economists started feeling like they dropped the rates too fast, too soon. So last month during the meeting, the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, he really confirmed that in 2025, they won't be cutting rates as much as they initially expected. So this really caused, stock market to drop, mortgage rates to jump. And, we've seen quite an increase in rates since our September lows. But for more positive news, after the Fed meeting, we did get some measures of inflation and those came in lower than expected. And we got some jobs reports that showed weakening, and really, jobs reports weakening really points to lower inflation as well. So rate wise in 2025, it's really going to be about these reports. If we see costs continue to trend lower, jobs show weakening, that's really going to lower inflation and get the funds rate back on track for going down and starting to lower mortgage rates to the trend that we had seen before they jumped the last quarter of the year. So that's what we're hoping and that's what we're looking for. And we'll be keeping you all updated every month on how that's going.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's still, our market here in the greater Phoenix area is still very rate driven. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Affordability is, of course, going to be the big thing as it was last year, this year too. And, every time we see a little bit of a mortgage rate drop, that always has a direct impact on demand. And you see it always jump whenever we see rates go down. So yes, it very much does.
Absolutely. I feel like rates and inventory is really something to watch that we have been watching, but definitely something to watch coming up in 2025. How have mortgage apps been since we last spoke at the beginning of December?
The holidays are always tough. It's they definitely have gone down. I think I was reading a report where applications nationwide for loan officers was down about 25%. And that is pretty normal for the holidays. Not much happens, obviously, but we kind of saw that as well. Yes, have you guys kind of seen the slowdown in activity a little bit?
We have. We have a few very happy sellers, though, that ended up listing this, that, and the other thing happens, and it kind of went a little bit late. So they ended up listing a little later in the year than they maybe initially intended. But we listed it correctly. And what that means is it's got a bunch of marketing power behind it. It looks good. It's priced appropriately for its condition and its area. Like those are the three big things. And so we were able to put them under contract pretty quickly. In fact, one of them we put under contract in 3 days. This is in December, and we had multiple offers.
Oh, wow.
So I always joke that, it slows down a bit during this season, but for some reason, our team gets like a little tiny spike in December. I don't get it.
It's all the more reason you got to find the right team Evo, because, they'll price the properties right to get them sold fast.
Well, and that's so important right now. So obviously things have chilled out a bit, right? Like the market's a bit chilly, we could say. We're really, really close to being a balanced market. Median sales price hasn't moved an inch since August of 2022. We've been pretty flat with that. We saw that spike in Q2 of 2022 where we hit 475 with that median price, but now we are down at the 450. But I'm not seeing a ton of real drastic price reductions out there. Are you seeing with your clients, are you seeing any big negotiations? I mean, here and there, but nothing super giant on our plate right now.
Nothing really, no. And I was just reading two measures of home appreciation just came out, Case-Shiller and FHFA, and they both showed that year over year prices nationally, and I think Arizona is pretty close to this, was between 3.6 and 4.5 is how much it appreciated in a high rate environment still. That's pretty impressive. And yeah, we're not seeing much drops in home prices. We're definitely seeing closing costs being negotiated. Yep. And so that's great for buyers right now, where they can get some seller paid closing costs to help them buy down the interest rate. Maybe do something like that 2-1 buy down that we've talked about. And if you didn't know about it, there's options right now where you could get a mortgage rate 2% less than the national average right now the first year that you're in the home. 1% less the second, and then the third year, it's where rates are at right now. But it temporarily drops your interest rate during this high rate environment. And as there's more inventory and there's maybe more options out there, we are seeing more buyers get those closing costs negotiated to be able to have those lower mortgage payments.
Totally agree with you. And January, we always see inventory come back. We always see demand come back, right? A little bit more than, the previous month. As you know, Matt and I watch inventory levels really close. We're still pretty tight inventory wise, like in the grand scheme of things, looking at it from a bird's eye view. But we're going to see those properties that went off the market during the holidays for the holidays come back. And I know just from watching the data that a decent chunk of the decrease that we've recently seen in inventory is canceled listings.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. And I think kind of towards the end of the year, I think they were showing here that there are more price drops, but that's nationally. They're saying 30% of the homes on the market have taken a price cut, which was quite a bit higher than earlier in the year. But I don't see that as much here in Arizona. I know that's a national average, but I feel like we're being a little bit more resilient on our home prices.
Totally agree. I mean, you've got your sellers still with their pie in the sky number that are having to come down a considerable amount, obviously, but that's not the majority of what I'm seeing out there. So I still feel, pretty confident, pretty good stepping into January 2025 for our sellers, but especially for our buyers, Ryan, because I feel like we've been saying the last couple of months, like this is just magic time. Don't wait for the spring rush to happen to find your dream home. As the inventory levels start to climb back up in January, if you're ready to go. Now is the time to start making your deal. And right before we got on the show, Ryan, we were speaking of another client that we have, and we were speaking specifically about her situation. But something came up that I would love for you to share with our audience, and it seems to be more and more of a buzzword as rates continue to remain fairly steady where they're at, and that is loan assumptions. So I know you did a Tip Tuesday with Dana, and I'll link that in the show notes. Yes. But quickly, can you just give us a couple of bullet points on what a loan assumption looks like and really what buyers need to know before they start diving into that?
Yeah, loan assumptions have been very popular over the past couple of years. And basically what it is the seller who's selling their home, they have a current mortgage on the property. You take it over, you assume the mortgage, and you just start paying on the mortgage that they have. It gets transferred into your name. So the great benefit to that, obviously, is that if that seller had a mortgage rate from 2020 or 2021, most likely they're in the 2 or 3% range rather than like the high sixes that we're at right now. So that's why assumptions have been very popular, and you're probably seeing them in the news and people are talking about it more often. Is, hey, if there's a chance you could get a rate in the 2s in this market, that's a great option. So the one drawback to that, though, is if you're assuming the seller's mortgage, let's just say, for instance, using numbers, you're doing a $500,000 purchase price. That seller has a $300,000 mortgage. you have to make up that difference between the purchase price and the mortgage you're assuming. So that would be, in this example, $200,000. So that's what makes these a little bit more difficult, is that how are you going to come up with that large of a down payment?
Right.
Not everybody can, obviously. So you have two options. You could either put that much money down, or you could get a second mortgage to make up the difference. And when you're getting a second mortgage, there are options out there where you only need a 5% down payment. So you could assume the first mortgage, that 300,000, and then you could actually get a second mortgage to make up the rest. So you only have 5% down. But another kind of drawback to that is those second mortgages are based off of current mortgage rates.
I was
And
going to
they're
say,
always a little bit higher than first mortgage rates as well, because they're more risky, for the banks. If anything happens to the home, those are the mortgages that go into default and have the losses first. So because of that, those rates are higher. So assumptions in theory are great, but when you factor in having to bring in the difference, second mortgages, those rates, a lot of the times it's kind of a wash and you don't really get the benefit of it. But certain circumstances, it could make sense.
Totally agree. And I think it's something to explore. In fact, conversations that, we just had one, conversations that we've been having with our buyers is, let's get creative.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how we can get you into the property, because the data that we're seeing, like, we're not going to be in this spot forever. Yeah, we're here now. Yeah, we have a little storm to weather perhaps, but we're not going to be weathering it forever. And then these are the folks that, if they don't jump now and want to be in a property, right? But if they don't jump now, in a year and a half from now, they're going to be kicking themselves saying, gee, I could have done it then. I could have just gotten a little creative, worked a little harder to get creative, whatever it is. And I could have gotten into something back then. Now look at where the prices are. And, my fear is that some people who are fearful of jumping the fence now and getting creative and getting into something that they can afford, they're going to price themselves out of the market at some point.
Absolutely. Yes, no, I completely agree with that. And, I think this beginning, like the first quarter, like we said, is really where we're going to be keeping an eye on, is where inventory is trending, how that's impacting prices. But obviously, just rates are really going to be so important, because I think we're either going to see prices go down or rates go down to really help with affordability. And we're all hoping it's just going to be mortgage rates, obviously, for our sellers and our buyers as well, really. So, I'm really glad that kind of towards the end of the year, we're starting to see some positive reports, like those inflation numbers going down, jobs weakening. We hate to see jobs weakening, obviously, for our economy, but in reality, that is good for inflation and that is good for mortgage rates. So those are things we're really going to be following, and hope we really start to continue that trend, because I do think that's another reason that we kind of started to see a little bit of a decrease in demand, is just, rates were dropping, things were picking up in October, and then boom, they started going up again. And I think everybody was a little surprised to see that towards the end of the year. And demand just kind of dropped off a little bit. So hopefully we'll start trending back down on those rates.
I absolutely agree. Buyers out there, please understand, this is magic time. This is the time to go out and get your property and really, negotiate with the seller and really get either, a great deal on the purchase price, or, like Ryan said, your closing costs paid, your rate buy down paid, you repairs, you name it, they're doing it. It's time for you guys to jump off the fence if that's something that is in the forecast for you. As far as sellers, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 3 things, guys. You want to make sure you've got a lot of marketing power behind your property. Ryan, I hate to see, and I feel so sorry for sellers out there, and I pull up their listing and I'm like, yikes, there's maybe 3 photos, they're crooked, the lighting's bad. You can't really tell, there's a cat on the counter. You can't really tell what this property looks like, what it offers. Buyers are very, very visual in my experience. And oftentimes I'll be shopping with a buyer and I'll be like, hey, did you see, XYZ Main Street? What a cool property. On paper, it looks great. And they're like, yeah, I looked at the photos and I'm not feeling it. And, sometimes those can be winner properties. They're just not shined up as well as they should be online. And let's face it, like, how many people do you know, Ryan, how many buyers have you had that have done an application with you that have never looked at a house online themselves?
Oh, No, none.
Exactly. Because that's where they go first, right?
That's
You
where they
think,
go first,
oh,
even before they call us. Yes.
exactly. Even before we know that they have this on their mind, right? They're looking on Zillow, they're saving properties on Zillow or whatever it is that they use to search. And I will tell you right now that the properties that aren't presented well are getting swiped, or they're getting, the little trash can deleted. There we go. And they're being deleted from their wish list, from their list of properties that they want to go out and see. I see it all the time. Another thing too is, yes, we have the MLS, and if your property is on the MLS, that's great, but there's so much that you can do to help that property get out to the proper people. And social media is really giant. We've found over the last few years that we get a lot of activity on social media from posting our listings, from posting, the special things about our listings, the things that we really want to feature, what makes it rare, what makes it neat, that kind of stuff has been giant for us. And I know that the sellers that don't have that marketing power behind them are suffering, and that's an unfortunate thing. So make sure that you've got that marketing power. Make sure that your price is right for your property condition. That is giant as well. So sellers, it's not all doom and gloom for you. Buyers need to buy properties. They are buying properties, and you're the ones that's selling them. So it's not like nothing is moving. It's not like sellers aren't selling at all. They certainly are. But it's, what are you doing to make your property stand out so that you, ideally have multiple offers, like we did at the beginning of December with our property, sold in 3 days, multiple offers. We're under contract for cash. Awesome.
Nice.
That's the ideal situation, but you need to make your property stand out from the rest. This is not the market where you can just pop one photo of the front door and a sign in the yard, and you're going to have 20 people lined up at the door. That's just not happening anymore.
Yeah, it's so hard to see. I agree with you, Katie. When you look at just listings, you look at the ones that are sitting for a while, and you're like, "Oh, I know why they're sitting for a while. Look at these photos.
Yeah.
Look at this price." That it's more important than ever to find the right team. Obviously, that's why we love seeing sellers come to you guys, because you do everything in your arsenal to get those homes sold. And those 2 properties you mentioned in December is, the result of that.
It's pretty wild, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But it definitely makes a big difference. And I know that there are some folks out there that don't think so. And I'm here to argue that point, because I think so, and I think so a whole lot. And I have the experience to back that up with. So again, guys, buyers, get on out there while we're still in this sort of quiet time. Find your dream property, negotiate the dickens out of it. Sellers, make sure you just call me. That's the easiest thing for sellers, I think. Call me. I got you covered. All right, Ryan, is there anything else that we should add as we set the stage for Q1 2025 for our amazing buyers and sellers out there?
It's going to be busy, and stay tuned, because we'll be covering everything. And it's obviously early. We're recording this on the 2nd, and I think everybody's still on vacation right now, but are in holiday mode. But I'm signed up for pretty much every single 2025 prediction webinar from everybody who I respect, for where rates are going, home prices, everything. So I'll be excited for our February recording, because I think we're going to have a lot more arsenal about where things are going to be heading. So stay tuned. But I'll be plugging in and really getting an idea of where things are heading.
I agree completely. I feel like January numbers are going to be definitely important. And like you said, people are still sleeping. People are still on vacay, still doing the kids are not back to school yet, that kind of thing. So I totally get that. But we will see life return to the market. I would say in probably about 2 weeks is usually about mid-January is usually when I see life. So
that's the trend, and we've been consistent with that. So I'm expecting it as well. So yeah, absolutely. It's going to be exciting.
Agreed. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Ryan. Thank you so much. And buyers, I should have mentioned earlier, sellers call me, yes, buyers too, but buyers call Ryan, especially when you want to talk about how to get creative. So we rattled off a couple of different things that you can do to be creative, to make this move more affordable, because affordability is definitely an issue that we know you guys are having out there. We're having these conversations daily. But Ryan has been in the business about as long as I have. I think we're right there. I think we're about the same. And he's got a lot of great ideas. He's got a lot of experience, and he can really move those numbers around to make it work for you. If there is a workable plan for you, he'll find it. So thank you, Ryan, for doing that for our people. I get messages time and time again. I'm not even joking. I can't believe Ryan pulled off what he pulled off for me. That was awesome. Not only is he great customer service and very communicative, I always know where I stand and what's going on, but he pulled something off that I talked to 5 lenders about and they couldn't do.
Oh, that's so nice to hear, Katie, and thank you. And there's so many different options out there. And with our company, we're approved with so many different banks that really have a lot of unique programs. Sometimes if you go to one bank, they're just going to give you their one product and that's it. But there's so much more out there, like those buy down programs, like assumptions. So you got to know everything that's available. And so call me anytime, and always available to chat over every option to get you the lowest rate, lowest payment, best options for you.
Absolutely. And I can vouch for that, because it'll be Saturday night at 10 o'clock and I'll text Ryan thinking, maybe I'll get an answer in the morning. Oh no. I get an answer that night. This man does not sleep.
Real estate doesn't sleep, so we can't do much either. That's part of the job.
Real estate does not sleep, especially on the weekends, right?
Yep.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Thank you again for your continued service. I love working with you year after year, and I'm looking forward to 2025 working with you again.
Same here, Katie. Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. If you want to check out 2024, do maybe a year in review and see what we talked about each month in 2024. If you want to do that, hop on over to our YouTube channel. It is at Team Evo AZ. That is our handle. If you prefer the podcast style, maybe you run a lot, bike a lot, hike a lot, then do a quick search for Arizona Real Estate Radio. There you'll find us. Like, notify, do all the things, download all the options that they give you, and you will never miss an episode. All right, Ryan. We'll see you next time.
Happy New Year, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.